Hey everybody, I am here with Steve D. Sims. The reason I'm saying that is because if you look him up on social media as anything else, there's a lot of Steve Sims out there. So Steve D. Sims with me. You guys, this is, if you have never made it through a video before, if you've started watching ever before and you're like, I gotta do something else, this is not the video that you do that on, all right? So this video is one that is going to rock your entire world. Steve, I'm going to read, and I know that I look totally stupid right now and I don't even care. Just watch this. I am going to read the intro for you because it's insanity and I do not want to mess it up. Here we go, guys. Reading from my phone. Do you know anyone that's worked with Sir Elton John or Elon Musk, sent people down to see the wreck of the Titanic on the seabed, or closed museums in Florence for a private dinner party, and then had Andrea Bocelli serenade them while they eat their pasta? You do now. And it ain't me, it's Steve D, right? Quoted as the real-life Wizard of Oz by Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazines, Steve Sims is a best-selling author with Bluefishing. Write it down right now. Bluefishing, the art of making things happen. Sought after coach and a speaker at a variety of networks, groups, and associations, as well as the Pentagon and Harvard twice. All right. I think we can just be done now. Because I feel like that covered all of it. We're done. I started to ask you this before we started recording, and I just got to say, where'd you come from? What in the world? You're a bricklayer. You started out, you started out as a bricklayer in London, yeah?
Yeah. I think, look, it's not colorful. And we can name drop and we can do all of that, but the thing that sparks us all is exactly the same. My story is exactly the same as yours. We all start with aggravation. We're all pissed off at the way things are done. You know, Elon Musk invented PayPal because he couldn't understand why it took 5 days to wire money between banks. So he was aggravated with something, and entrepreneurs go, well, I don't like the way that's done. Let me reinvent it. Let me formulate it. Let me restructure it. I was a bricklayer in London. I was on the building site. My dad, my uncle, my cousins, and my granddad were on the same building site. And I went, hang on a minute. Is this it? You know, I'm 16 years old. Is this where I'm supposed to be until I'm in my 80s, like my granddad? So I was aggravated. And I said, this can't be it. I've got to go and find something else. We didn't have social networks at the time to validate how inadequate our life was. So I had to go out and try and find a way to do it myself. And I tried insurance, car sales, truck driving. I worked for a bakery doing their sales. Insurance rooms, stockbrokers. I failed at everything. I found a million jobs that didn't work for me until I ended up at what I thought was my low point, which was a doorman on a nightclub going, my job description is to slap someone. You know, that's it. Go in, slap someone, throw them out. That was my job description. And I was okay at it, but I didn't want to do it. But then I thought to myself, there's got to be something else. And I realized when I was out, and we all do this, I was out one night with my mates and I ride around on bikes. So it's this typical biker bar. And I'm talking to my mates about, oh God, aren't you angry with this? And they were like, well, no, we're okay. And they were all settlers, you know? And it's like when you sit down with your mates and you go, hey, shouldn't we do this? And they all go, that's stupid talk, Sims. You don't know what, you're going to fail at that. And then you realize you're in the wrong room. You're with the wrong people. All of these are happy to settle. And I thought to myself, and it was a very sad night. And I remember it. I thought, this is the last night I can be in this room. You know, if I want to go next, I'm going to change my room, find out how people did things, and grew from there to the point that from the doorman, I started throwing my own parties. Quite simply, I went from working on the door to throwing my own parties to ending up working with some of the biggest events in the planet, from Formula One, the Grammys, Sir Elton John's Oscar party, Kentucky Derby, New York Fashion Week. But all the reason for doing it was to get into a room with rich people and to be able to walk up to a rich person and go, hang on, how come you're rich and I'm not? That was the sole reason for doing what I did.
What'd they tell you?
Well, a lot of them were like, oh, I learned this. People think the thing that made them successful was not the thing. It was the steps to the thing. Mm-hmm. It was the things that they take for granted. And good question. I'll give you the 3 things that make hugely successful people successful. Okay, I'll give you these nuggets now. If you don't listen to anything else, who cares? This is it. The first thing, they lean into failure rather than lean away. Now, successful people, something goes wrong and they go, how did that go wrong? Unsuccessful people, they lean back and they go, shit, I lost 10 grand. Wife's going to kill me. Oh my God, I'm never doing. And they lean away without realizing that all the education is in the failure.
Yes.
Now, it's only got to succeed once for the rest of those things to become education. So successful people lean in to where it went wrong. Second thing, they hire relationships, not resumes. There's a reason why there's always power lunches, why they're always meeting people, why they're meeting face to face. They hire people rather than status. You know, what you do and who you work for, that's a business card. It's not what you're made of and what you're capable of doing. That's you. Okay. So they hire people. And the final thing is they value the thing that they can't purchase. Time. Doesn't matter how rich they are, they can't get any more hours in the day. So they don't want to have a conversation with you on what you binge watched on Netflix. They don't give a shit what takeaway you had last night. They care about what impact you're trying to generate, what your problems are, and what your solutions are. They care about what's happening that's going to move the needle. So those are the 3 things I've noticed with all the powerful people I've dealt with.
Boom. That is so, I mean, all of those things. The first one about failure, I love that. I love that. Because people will ask like how we got where we were or where we are right now. And I'll say we've failed a million times before. And how many, sometimes you see successful people that say like, oh no, like they just fell out of the sky and landed into this pile of success, right? And those are the people that aren't going to be successful very long. Those are the people that are going to maybe be okay, like flash in the pan, right? And then gone tomorrow because that wasn't actually earned through the blood, sweat, the tears, and what comes with that, which is the endurance. The endurance to continue doing what you're doing without a loss of enthusiasm, right? What you were talking about when you worked at, I don't know, why am I thinking donut shop? I don't think you even said donut shop, but for some reason I envision you working at a donut shop, Steve. So that's now a thing, but maybe that's going to be the thumbnail video. Anyway, we'll just make it so in my world. But anywho, you worked a bunch of different places. And then you call them failures. So many people are scared to call out their failures in their life because they're not failing forward, right? Like the looking at it and then being able to see like, okay, why didn't this work? Let me take the piece of it that did and reconstruct it into something that's actually going to work, right? People just look at failure and they think that like the masses around them are just laughing and poking fun at them when nobody gives a rip. Nobody cares. It's when you succeed that they're like, oh, that's awesome. You're failing, tripping on your shoelaces. Nobody's honestly paying attention, in my opinion.
Well, I think the difference is that people read failure the wrong way. Failures are there to refine you. They're not there to define you. So I want to fail repeatedly. If I don't fail within the next 2 weeks, a lot, then I've done something wrong because I want to try things. You know, I want to experience things. And when things go wrong, great, because that's where the growth is. A lot of successful people, just as you were saying, they say they fell out of the sky. There's a beautiful thing within us being humans is that we forget the pain. Okay, we know we don't like hitting our thumb with a door. Okay, every single person in the planet has stubbed our toe or trapped our finger in a door. Okay, but we can't actually remember the pain. We know we don't like it, but we can't actually remember it because pain goes away. So all of the failures you go through life to get you to where you are, you kind of look at them and you go, okay, I failed, but you can't really remember the pain. You just remember the success. And that's the beauty of human psychology. We actually continue through. As long as you continue through and don't allow that failure to become finite.
Yes, I love that. That's also a thing with, and you may not understand this fully, but childbirth. That's a thing. Like you don't remember what that's like. You probably had no idea we were going to talk about that today either. But it's something that you just don't even remember. Like it's almost like the next day you forget. It's pretty darn quickly. But
it's an example that I've often given, funny enough. Because I've got loads of tattoos, and like childbirth, if your head could actually remember the pain, no one would have a second child and no one would have a second tattoo. They just wouldn't. But the amount of times I'm laying on a table and the needle goes in and I'm thinking, shit, I am never having a tattoo again. And then 3 months later you go, well, that would look nice. And you go and do it. And then you go, shit, never doing that again. And that's what happens.
That's funny. And true. And so true. What would you say to somebody because do you find it massively frustrating? I do, and I just want to see how you feel about this. It's massively frustrating to me, the people in the world that they want nothing more than to succeed. They want a life of success. They want to be able to do these things, but then they get stuck in this space. Whenever they hit that failure, that speed bump, whatever, they kind of roll back off the speed bump and go in reverse, right? And it's so frustrating to me because it's very hard to lead them to success. They have to do it themselves. What is your take on those folks?
So there's 3 types of people in the planet. There's an entrepreneur that will jump out of the frying pan into the volcano. They will leap off a cliff and then hand stitch a parachute on the way down. That's the entrepreneur. Okay.
Yeah.
We as entrepreneurs are basically part stupid, part passionate, part idiot, part visionary. We just go for it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the entrepreneur. Then you've got the intrapreneur. Mm-hmm. The intrapreneur is the one that loves the idea that the entrepreneur comes up with, but now help takes that to fruition. A lot of the time entrepreneurs fail is that they don't have a good intrapreneur to actually turn that structure into something. Yes. Okay. So every entrepreneur needs a good intrapreneur. The intrapreneur is never going to take the risk, okay, but can certainly make that thing shine. And then you've got the wantrepreneur. And as you said, they want to succeed. They want the glory. They want, but they're not willing to commit. And it's the wantrepreneur that goes, oh, being an entrepreneur, that's sexy, until they get to the end of the week and find out they can't pay their bar tab or their light bill or their electric or payroll. And they go, oh, I don't like this stress. I'm going to go and get a job, selling Starbucks. That's the wantrepreneur. Now, do I feel any sadness for those? No, because they're not our people, okay? I'm the entrepreneur. I work well with intrapreneurs, and entrepreneurs, we have trouble fitting in until we realize we weren't built to.
Right.
We're supposed to stand out. I run an event called a Speakeasy. It's Hogwarts. It's where all the weird kids get together to realize, hey, we're a little bit special, And so that's why people go to those kind of entrepreneurial events. If you want to go where a bunch of people go that settle, go to your local pub, and go, hey, I've got this idea. I'm going to do this. And watch all the people snigger, and go, you can never do that. Only to realize that you're in the wrong room.
Yes. That's it. Do you ever think that a entrepreneur can be an entrepreneur just by changing the people they're around?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time as entrepreneurs, and I don't want to get too deep in it, but what is an entrepreneur? You know, it's like saying, hey, I'm tall, I'm fat, I'm ginger, I'm bald. That's a fact. But I think an entrepreneur needs to be discovered in you. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to the wrong people. How many times do you hear people going, oh, I want to know what to do with my mortgage. I want to know what to do with my finances. I want to know what to do with my job, with my education. And what do? They go to the pub and listen to people that have no qualifications giving them advice. All right. So and those are the people that sadly may get tarnished with being entrepreneurs. So I do believe, sadly, there's some entrepreneurs out there that just haven't been ignited yet.
Yes.
You know, I also think there's some entrepreneurs out there that have been a bit lucky, that are lucky entrepreneurs, that are sooner or later, as you said, are going to go back by the wayside. But the entrepreneur's the one that gets punched in the chin and goes, all right, what do I do now? You know, and the entrepreneur is the one that cries about it. So I would tell everyone, first off, change the room you're in. Get challenged. I love cheerleaders. Hey, they pander to my ego, and who doesn't like getting a round of applause? But outside of that, they're a waste of space. Mm-hmm. I like people to challenge me. I like people to go, well, Steve, why are you doing that? And I go, well, it's because of this. And they go, well, is that the best use of your energy? Are you going to be able to monetize that? Is the impact there for others? And that you end up going, you know, that it's not. And the amount of ideas that I've come up with that I've got rid of purely and simply because I could use my energy better off somewhere else, mm-hmm. for better impact, for better results, for better reaction, for better money. You know, you need challengers to do that, not cheerleaders.
Yes. I love challengers. We just came off a thing this last week. Do you know Grant Cardone? You know who he is?
I've heard of him. Yeah, I know him well, yeah.
He had a 10X Growth Con in Miami, and we just got back from it. We were down there for like a week, but it's where you get in a room full of crazy people. It's the room full of people that are like, I'm here to do a heck of a lot more than what I'm already doing. And even if you're already doing a ton, right? It's the entrepreneurial spirit is always more, better. How can I have more impact? And more impact typically equals more success along with it, because it should. So that's, get in. I love that you're talking about just get in a different room, because how many times you're pulling the wrong people. When you're asking them, well, do you think this is going to work? You're pulling the wrong people. All those people don't have any idea. They're going to show you their limitations. It doesn't mean that they're your limitations at all. So tell me about...
Exactly. I run an event called a Speakeasy, simspeakeasy.com if you're nosy. And the funny thing is, when you visit it, you'll have less information than I've just given you. You know, it's kind of weird. But I challenge people to go to my events knowing nothing. That's how risky they are, purely and simply based on my credibility, the people I know, and what I've done in the past. But I think it's important for people to be challenged when they go to the room. And I challenge them before they've even got to the room. And so I believe it's the right mindset to get in the right room with the right kind of dysfunctional, disruptive creators that are out there to kind of like make something happen.
I love that. Dysfunctional, disruptive creators. I don't know. As you were saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. That's the good stuff right there. So where are your speakeasy events? Are those in the UK?
No, they're all over America at the moment. They really are. Because I live in Los Angeles. So at the moment, we've only done US based. We're going to go international, but we've done, and we're happy to always talk about the past ones, but we never tell anything about the future ones. We literally just go 19th and 20th of July, San Diego, $2,000, purchase your ticket here. But then we do something a little bit different, which I challenge you has never been done to you before. We contact every single person that pays and we say, what's your problem? And we want to know what your problems within your business and life now. And then what we do is we tap into my Rolodex to make sure someone can come along to answer and challenge you on that.
Oh my goodness.
And that's never, usually you go to events because so-and-so is going to be there, or it's at this place. We work in reverse. We work on the mastermind that's going to benefit you. So we've done them in the Google campus. We've done them in the Gigafactory in Reno. We've done them in a Hollywood music studio. We've done them in the Bunny Ranch brothel in Reno. We've done them in New York. We always find these quirky kind of locations to upset you and get you uncomfortable and then help you get challenged. So we've had people like Jim Quick, Jeffrey Madoff, Jesse Elder, Mark Victor Hansen, Cameron Harold, Tucker Max. We've had rock stars, literally rock stars, come in to teach you on what you need to be doing with your social presence, how to get authority, how to breed credibility, how to get people to notice you. So we have some good fun with these things.
How many people are usually at a Speakeasy event?
I laugh because we top it out at 40. When we first started these, when we first started these, we did 25, and we thought, that's basically a large table, you know. And then we thought we need to open it up, and the next one we did it at 62, and I remember that number because all of a sudden that's getting past the intimate. Mm-hmm. And what I want to do is I want you to be able to have conversation with other creative disruptors as well as the teachers that are coming along and me. Yeah. And we found out that sweet spot was 40. So we always go maximum of 40 people. After that, sorry, we can't take you. It's all sold out. So that's what we do. We're 40 for every single event. And every single person is vetted, filtered, and interviewed.
I love it. Like, I love it. So what was the website for that again?
That's at simsspeakeasy.com, or you can just go to stevedsims.com and click on the word Speakeasy. And as I say, you'll get very little information on it, but there is a little video underneath it that you can click called What is a Speakeasy? That will show you some of the stuff that we've got up to that may be interesting.
I love it. I love it. I'm always down for stuff like that. Also, when you guys go to the internet, in case you're like just looking up stevesims.com, don't do that. That's some dude that makes boring websites. Sorry, guy. But stevedsims.com. Make sure that you put the right URL in there. So tell me about the membership. You have a monthly membership that you do. Tell me about that.
So it was an extension of the Speakeasy, funny enough, because people were coming along like any event. You go to an event, you get all of this information, and then you go, well, what do I action first? You know, and it's like sipping water from the Niagara Falls. A lot of it goes by the wayside. So the Speakeasy coaching program was established that's direct with me, and we basically go over what's your problem, what you're trying to work on, and then when we've gone to the Speakeasies, I can be a lot more focused on you, but then past the event, we can actually take out the nuggets we're going to action and put them in a hell yes, not now, and a no list so that we know what to focus on when and where to basically get you more impactful, to move the needle. So we focus on your media, your podcast, your authority, and it's really just trying to hold you accountable via moi and seeing what we can do to shake you up.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, now you have to, so I've seen all the pictures of you and like these different people. This almost seems like, is this just another kind of income stream of yours? Is that you just do these like bombastic, ridiculous things, or you're able to facilitate getting these crazy things done for people? Like the stuff that I talked about at the very beginning, whenever I read the bio, like getting people, I mean, what are some other crazy things that you've done? And do people just call you up and say like, hey, I want to do this thing, and you're like, on it? Is that how that goes?
I'd love to tell you something deeper, but you're completely accurately right. I work with millionaires and billionaires, and we have no website, we have no phone number, no email, and they just tell their friends what they got up to. And then their friends go, hey, I like Guns N' Roses. Can you do something with that? So we organized a drum lesson with Guns N' Roses. You know, I love the rock band Journey. Can you get me front row tickets? No, we're going to get you on stage and you're actually going to sing with them live on stage. You know, oh, I love the films Mission Impossible. You know, what can I go to the premiere? No, I'm going to get you a walk-on role on the movie. So it's all of these kind of things that I've done. But again, understand the reason I do them is because I want to talk to the person that's wanting it to be done. I want to know, why are you wealthy? How did you become wealthy? The stuff that I do, it pays me well, but it also gives me the ability to grab your attention and to sit down with you and go, okay, how come you own 15 countries? You know, how come you are one of the richest people in the planet? You know, these kind of questions. And I've sat down with royalties, sheikhs, kings, queens, rock stars, scientists, spacemen. You know, I've sat down with incredible people and been able to ask them these questions. And the reason I'm there is because they had a goal, a dream, a desire. And so that's the exchange that I've been able to do. So I do it because I get paid well, but I do it predominantly because I want to interview you. I want to quiz you. I want to know why you are where you are. And then I'm going to take that into my coaching program. I'm going to take it onto stages that I speak at. I'm going to take it into Sims Distillery. I'm going to take it into my Facebook group. I'm going to take that information and I'm going to give it back to those people that I'm with.
Oh my goodness. How did you, I'm sure the people are watching this just like, what? How did you, the first deal you ever did like that? Do you remember your first one where it was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I don't know how I'm going to get this done, but I'm going to do this thing. What was the job? And then how did you get in touch with these people?
So it's not as glamorous as you think. It's like speaking to an athlete that's got the record for running the fastest and going, what was it like when you first learned to walk? You know, it's just the same as everyone else. When I got my first deal that kind of changed my mind, I was working on a nightclub door and this guy wanted to go to a party and he said, oh, are you going to this party? And I said, oh, I don't know which one are you talking about. And he told me where it was. And I said, oh, I don't think so. And they went into the lounge and I went around the corner where the party was being held and spoke to the lady. And I actually gave her $300. And I walked up to her and I said, look, I got clients coming to this party tonight. I didn't. But I said, I got people coming to this party tonight. I know it starts at 9. I just wondered, did you want them here at like 9:30 or 10:30 when it calms down a little bit? What would be better for you? And I put it like that. And she was like, 10:30. And so we got chatting and I gave her $300. Now, bearing in mind, I was getting paid $1,000 a week to work on this door, including tips. I was just giving a third of it away to this girl. And I said to her, tomorrow, when the party's over, grab yourself a bottle of wine and a takeaway and just relish in the fact that you did a good night. You know, so tomorrow night you can relax, enjoy yourself. And she was so appreciative that I had thought of post the event, because everyone's like, hey, how are you? Can I come? Can I come? There's me saying, enjoy when it's over, you know? And I wasn't even trying to get in. I was talking about my clients. So as I started to walk away, she was like, oh, what's the guys' names? Now, bearing in mind, they weren't on her list, but she wrote them on the front of the list. And I said, is there anyone that they should ask for? And she went, yeah, they should ask for me. And I forget what her name was, Mandy, Mindy, I don't know, Julie, whatever. I went back into the lounge, walked up to these 4 guys, and I said to them, hey, you know that party you wanted to go to? And they were like, yeah. I said, well, I've made a few phone calls. Of course, I hadn't. I didn't even have a phone. And I said, but I've pulled some strings and I've got you in. It's $500 per person. And they leapt up and started dishing the money out to the point that they actually gave me too much money. I had to give some money back. They were like throwing the hundreds down. It was like $600 and $700 they were giving me. And I realized then, people don't pay to get into the event. they pay to save the humiliation of them being turned away. And that was the big eye-opener. They had no qualms about the $500, none at all. And I walked back to the door, realizing that I'd made $1,700 in 30 minutes, and I hadn't got into a fight, which was my job description as a bouncer. And I thought, maybe there's something to this. And then I just started finding out where the premieres were. I started using that as a reason to get people into my Rolodex. It went from getting people into parties. Then I started throwing my own parties. Then I started working in Formula One and the Grammys. I kept on going, okay, how can I take this further? How can I make this more ridiculous? And I never settled. Too many people go, oh yeah, this is good. I'll stay here. And I was like, screw here. I've been here. That was good. But what's next? You know?
What's next?
And I have a little saying that's actually the title of my next book. Book's not out yet, so you can't buy it. But we're writing it called Go for Stupid. You know, go for something that's so ridiculous.
Yes.
People will mock you. People will physically and visually laugh at you until you achieve it and they bow and applaud.
Yes.
You know, so don't go for what's achievable, because you don't actually know what you can achieve until you go for something that's laughable and you get it and you go, wow, this is my new normal now. This is the benchmark of my stat. This is where I live. Now what's next?
Yes. That's literally how it goes, right? Now what's next? And then you just keep doing crazy thing after crazy thing after crazy thing. Like it's just, and you develop so much confidence in the process that it's like the crazy stuff just starts happening. Like it's not even, you think of it and then it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing this now. Like it's just, it's not even, so like somebody that hasn't tried anything ever in their life is like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? You just start doing it. It's like, it's that confidence, and you just can't have that fear of failure, because who gives a rip? Is it worse to be where you are always and forever and know that that's your sentence? Or is it worse to go and do something exciting? Go for stupid, right? Do something exciting, and then even if it doesn't happen right away, you still have that as a vision. You still go for it. You're gonna fail all the way till you get to it, but you just keep it the North Star, right? I love this. So
I remember a friend of mine, Joe Polish. He put it more eloquently than me because he's smart. He turned around and he said to me, the definition of hell is for a man or a woman to have met the person they could have been.
Ooh.
And I was thought, whoa, that. So when you actually have that tattooed on your eyelids, you suddenly take more chances. You know, you go for stuff, because can you imagine meeting the person that you could have been had you taken that chance many, 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 many years ago?
Isn't that what a hater is?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're just ticked that you represent everything they didn't do. They're like,
oh yeah, you know, I've got many haters. Sadly, I've got haters that I grew up in school with, because while they were too busy laughing and jeering at me, I was failing, learning, and then making it happen. And you know, of my old crew, there's one. There's a guy called Colin, the only guy that's still there with me. The rest of them are still at the same bloody house that they moved into, or they've taken over their mum's mortgage, and they're still there, happily settling with life, while I've created my own.
God bless him. God bless him. Somebody needs to. So, oh my goodness. Well, I feel like I could talk to you forever and ever. Amen. So, I know that you don't have time. And I want to ask you about Bluefishing. We talked about a couple of your programs already. And I don't know about people that are watching right now, but I wouldn't have blamed you if you opened a new tab. If you were at a laptop, opened a new tab, and already went to a site and bought something. Okay. So like, I wouldn't be surprised at all. If I weren't sitting here actually on the video, I would have too. Okay. But tell me about Bluefishing. Tell me about your book, the first one.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be anything. I was at a party. I was having these conversations with this girl. We were getting drunk. We were just telling funny stories. Turned out she was a senior person in Simon and Schuster. And so she's like, you should write a book on all the powerful people that you deal with. And I said, if I did that, I'd be dead by cocktail hour. So I'm not going to do that. So then what we did was we reframed it. She came back to me about a couple of weeks later and she said, hang on a minute, I've been doing a little bit more digging. How does a 15-year-old kid out of school, bricklayer, suddenly end up working with the Vatican? You know, how does that happen? Let's do that book. So I wrote the book trying to get people uncomfortable and challenged with simple, impactful ideas of how they can grow, brand, and solve. Because quite simply, I wanted to make a bit more of the world that I wanted to live in. You know, everyone's so interested in leaning up against a car that they don't own or taking a selfie, you know, from a camera that's so high up, it's almost from a freaking satellite because that's the best view to look down their cleavage. I wanted to move away from that kind of world. And I wrote the book, and to be honest with you, I thought that would be it. I didn't expect it to be anything. It's become a bestseller all over the planet. It's now in Thai, Vietnamese, Korean, Mandarin Chinese, Poland. They sold out all printed copies in 2 hours.
Wow.
And it's now being translated and written in Russian. So I'm wondering how many of my Russian clients are going to go, that was me, that was me. So it's got some stories in it, but also some tips and tricks. And I'm hoping it's going to piss you off. I'm hoping that you're going to get the book and you're going to go, well, that's so simple. Why don't I do that? Because people try to sell out the problem. How many people go, right, I've got to start in this business. I'll pay him 10 grand to do that. Then 5 grand. Why don't you do it yourself?
Right.
You know, why don't you learn what you need before you start outsourcing problems that you don't actually have? So I made this book to be very aggravating, very simple, very impactful, to show you how I did it without a website, without a phone number, without an email address. You know, how did I manage to do it? And it's all in the book, Bluefishing, the Art of Making Things Happen.
Man. All right. You have a number of things that you can get, guys that are watching this, guys and gals. Number of things you can get. I challenge you to get at least one and start in this biosphere of Steve D. Sims. This guy, my gosh. I knew as I was reading up on you before this video, I was like, I told my husband before I came on, I was like, this is going to be good. This is like, you know, whenever you're about to talk to somebody who's kind of just like as edgy and not abrasive, but abrupt, right? Like, just come on, let's just keep it real. Let's just talk about the stuff that matters and then also call out the BS. Like, I'm just a big fan of that. But yeah, if you guys haven't already bought something since the video started, it's time right now. So there's that. Steve, what would you say in, you know, I say your last words, but hopefully they're not your last words, but your last words on this video, what would you like people to come away with?
So I'm going to quote my daddy, big, thick Irish lad, not the sharpest tool in the shed. But one day we were walking down London and I was a kid, so I must have been like 13 or 14 years old. And he was a chain smoker. He would be smoking one cigarette and there'd be another one in his hand ready to go. Never saw him without a cigarette in his mouth. We're walking down the road and he didn't even stop. But as we're walking, he put his hand on my shoulder with a cigarette in it, took the other one out of his mouth and he said, son, no one ever drowned by falling in the water. They drowned by staying there. Oof. He put the cigarette back in his mouth and carried on walking. I stopped. And I was like, the fuck was that? It was like it suddenly got taken over by a fortune cookie. I had no idea what had happened. But that stuck with me. And the amount of times entrepreneurs, we fall in the water. It's your choice as to whether or not you drown or get up.
Right. Man, mic drop. I think we just need to be done now. I don't don't have any pretty outro here, Steve. Sorry. That was way too good. Everybody, you know what to do. All of the info is going to be in the description here. You are going to have your links. You know what you need to do, okay? Steve, thanks so much. And one last thing. Can you promise me that you'll come talk to me again?
Okay.
Oh, was that a yes or was that an okay, here comes the story? That was just a yes.
That was yes. Oh, okay. I'm coming.
Boom. All right. Thank you. Everybody, you have the best day ever, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.